Hi, welcome to Relationship Astrology. I'm Armand Diaz in New York.
And I'm Margaret Gray in Dublin, Ireland.
And Margaret, what a week we have for Relationship Astrology. The planet Venus, the planet of love and relationship, is very busy this week, making aspects to Neptune, Jupiter, and then Saturn. So it's going to be a very busy week for Relationship Astrology.
It's an incredibly busy week, which is why we thought we'd talk to you a little bit about what's going on in the sky. And I'm looking down here at the charts, and it really starts on Tuesday, tomorrow, the 25th, where Venus in Sagittarius is forming an exact square to Neptune in Pisces. Any thoughts about that?
Well, two thoughts. First of all, Neptune tends to make things much better or much worse than they might otherwise be. And in the area of partnership, we could be thinking about our relationship as being something that is filled with potential and wonder, or on the other hand, seems to be hopeless. Or alternatively, we could think about our partners as being filled with potential or hopeless.
I so agree. And I think Neptune is always an interesting one because, of course, it's really got that potential for illusion, sometimes delusion, putting people on a pedestal. It also can be, of course, a very romantic aspect, which is the very nice side of it. But sometimes, after a few days or when the transit goes by, we wake up and think, what was that all about? So there's that really kind of confusion sometimes around Neptune.
Yeah, most certainly. I think that Neptune square Venus can create that sort of romantic, soft focus to things, and that's lovely while it's happening. And you sort of have to try to keep a little piece of yourself outside of it to say, well, this is a really great experience. But sometimes sooner or later we're going to get out of the tunnel of love and may go to the haunted house.
Indeed, there can be a rude awakening. And later in the week, some of the transits change. Just to say to our listeners, who are listening in to us talking about transits, that of course your natal chart stays the same throughout your life, but the transits, the planets keep moving around, and so they land on different parts of the chart. What we're really talking about here are the movements of the planets in the sky and how they affect us all collectively and globally. Now, it will be more personal to you if it lands on one of your personal planets, like the sun, the moon, the ascendant, and the other angles, just to clarify that.
Yeah, that's really important to recognize. This is sort of the overall weather forecast, but it just because it's raining doesn't mean you're going to get wet. So the Neptunian illusions liable to come crashing down relatively quickly with Venus meeting up with Saturn on Friday.
I agree, and I was looking at that and thinking, I was thinking the whole week actually, one of the big themes that I think is coming up is really the search for the truth and really being incredibly truthful to ourselves and to others. That particularly that Venus-Saturn in Sagittarius wants something to manifest in our relationships which is truthful. And, to do that, we really need a degree of consciousness. That's very important this week, to be very conscious about where we at within ourselves and where we at in our relationships, in our important relationships with others.
That's entirely the case. Consciousness is the big thing. We have to bring awareness to whatever's happening. And I think that whether it's transits to the natal chart or whether it's the astrological weather, you always find that when we have a degree of consciousness and awareness that we can handle things much better. The sense of, sort of being taken on a ride and, going through all these extremes is much more likely when there's less awareness, when we sort of hold fast to ideas and don't really pay attention to what is happening. Also, though, we have Venus is going to be sextile Jupiter, and they're going to be in mutual reception this week.
So there's quite again the potential for inflation because of course Jupiter expands anything it really touches. And also the other transit of course is Venus is squaring the nodes. And I just wanted to say something briefly about the nodes at the moment because the south node is in Pisces and the north node is in Virgo. So whenever one of the planets squares these nodes, it really pushes us from the south node in Pisces, which is potentially the potential to be a little bit in a place of victim, but also, also in a place of
I'm sorry, the cat is, the cat is,
I could see your expression. You know, the funny thing is that I had a cat behind me as well, but it moved off a short while ago. So they obviously enjoy hearing the transit. So
yeah,
any
no,
cat lover, maybe you can apply this to your relationship with your cat.
almost certainly.
So we were talking about the South Node in Pisces that, you know, there can be an inclination sometimes to be a little bit in codependent position, and that the North Node in Virgo is pushing us towards being independent, towards being conscious, towards being more really self-sufficient. And with Venus squaring the nodes, there's really a push to do that in our relationships this week.
No, that's entirely so. I think that that's a big theme for the week. And also, Venus is about to go out of bounds for about 7 weeks. It's going to be far south of the ecliptic. And when that happens, relationship issues tend to reach a kind of extreme or peak. And I think that that is something that we need to be aware of. In a sense, this is a very busy week for Venus, but it's just a kickoff of about 6, 7 weeks of very intense relationship energy.
And also, of course, Mars in Capricorn squaring Uranus in Aries. That's going to be an incredibly powerful transit on the 28th, which in a way is kind of a little bit of completion of what started with the Mars-Pluto on the 20th of October. So we've really been in this period of very intense energy, and I would interpret it as, you know, the potential for something new to manifest, but really needing to be careful that we don't project the transit onto our loved ones, because there could be a degree of impatience around, irritability, and it's very easy to blame people around us for that, but that's actually something that's going on globally, collectively, and within ourselves and our relationships. And as I say, the potential for something new to happen.
Yeah, also another point that actually you made when we were talking before is that self-care is really important with this transit. This is not the sort of, especially with Uranus and Aries, this is not the sort of transit where we sort of should put a lot of pressure onto others to sort of take care of us. It's sort of like if I need to go to the gym and work off some energy, if I need to have some alone time, I should do that. I need to take care of myself. This is not a great time to be projecting anything onto the partner, especially, hey, take care of me, because they're probably out there taking care of themselves.
Absolutely, but it is a good time to let go of old resentments. That I would say that, you know, sometimes, you know, there comes a point, and again, we were talking about this earlier, that it's really helpful in a relationship to just draw a line under old resentments. Not that they don't get resolved, but to say, okay, we're ready to turn a new page, we're ready to start afresh. So if you're at a point in your relationship where you're really ready to do that, this will be a great time to do it, because it's a great time for new starts.
Exactly. And we are coming into the new moon at the same time. And the new moon, as we get into the new moon, which is on Saturday, it's a time to release and let go, but also to be thinking about planting for the future. So we'll be talking about that.
Yes, and it's a powerful new moon in Scorpio. So we're going to be talking about that in a few days. And just to remind our listeners that we've also started series 1 about compatibility in relationships. We talked about the moon, and our next recording will be on Mercury. So that will be next week sometime. But before that, we'll certainly come back to you with some information on relationships and the new moon in passionate Scorpio.
And we'll see you then.
Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.